Your track record also include in 06 when you openly came out and say you voted for PAP candidates over an opposition candidate in where you live in Bukit Panjang. Do you think, at that time it became a news report at the talking point, do you think after a few years you have successfully put this behind you? Second question is, if you can tell us where do you live now? Candidates fighting for your vote, and will you do it again in light of the responses you got?
Frankly, I think that happened in 2008, sometime in May or June. I had a very candid type of just bracket, because you see there's these blog links. So what I did was that I just wrote, pretty good fellow. So I just made a comment that I voted for so and so. So in retrospect, actually, that was really quite naive, because first and foremost, I think I confused opposition voters in that sense. The Singapore political development has not come to a stage whereby you can be so-called in a particular fraternity, and then you say, okay, well, because this person is not from my same party, and then because the opponent is different, so I voted for someone else. At the point of time, even up to now, probably opposition supporters will not be able to accept that. So the whole issue had a mini public discourse online. And in June in 2008, I have an introspection of perspective. And I acknowledge that had I maintained that particular perspective about voting in the incumbent over my fellow opposition party member, probably there will be no progress for Singapore.
Did you join the Workers' Party?
Well, I think the time has changed. I mean, there's a new generation, the Y Gen, and I think that they are really, personally, I look at they are really pressing issue. Well, I believe very much in education, financial. I mean, we can build an expressway, we can build big infrastructure, but without the people there to operate it, Singapore will not survive in 50 years' time. So I believe, something is seriously wrong with our education system that really drive me to stand, to serve.
To me, the issue was liberal immigration policies. Without explaining to people exactly why we need so many foreigners or immigrants, and why the criteria for qualifying for PR or citizenship is not publicized, nobody knows. I met one man, an accountant, at one house, and he said, I'm talented, I have degrees in accountancy, my wife is from a Southeast Asian country, my son is 1.5 years old, Singapore citizen, and my wife has to go to ICA to renew a visa every time. And if I cannot take care of her, I'm just going to move away. So we are going to lose a lot of talent like this. Do we want to do that? That's one of the biggest issues that got me into opposition.
For me, my political awakening came at the age of 15 years old, 1991, I remember. I was watching the TV. I think, if I recall the date correctly, it was 4th January 1991. You still remember what that was? I was watching the results coming in for all the constituencies. Then suddenly, there's this man who said, they said, for the Aukan electoral division, we have Lau Tia Kiang. And this was his victory speech. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is what he said. This is then the beginning of the next lap. Wow. That was my awakening. Because at that particular point of time, I know that when I grew up, I know whose side I will be in. That was how it all began.
I think I looked at it from a larger perspective. I've always wanted and believed in simultaneously, having a private life and then, offering part of yourself to serve the society you're in. I mean, this was an inspiration that I got from my grandfather. And the bigger picture in my mind was that our political system was actually at a rather crucial stage where it was becoming extremely unhealthy. And so I felt that it was incumbent upon me to try to redress that imbalance. No, actually, I had always wanted to be a citizen. I think when I got married, my husband and I, discussed things. We wanted our children to grow up as Singaporeans. I mean, if we have sons, he will go to NS. So it was, and the process is a very long one actually. And so when I got my citizenship, and I mean, I was already volunteering with the Workers' Party, and I knew these people. So my candidacy really, was a natural evolutionary process, and it wasn't timed, to meet this particular election. Well, I always thought that I came here when I was 5 years old, because when I looked at my entry permit, the date stated that I got my PR when I was 5 years old. But my dad called me to tell me that, no, you were here when you were 2 months old. And I mean, you got your PR under your mother's passport when you were 5.
Okay.
So I said, oh, okay. I mean, I wasn't surprised because I can remember nothing of another life. So I feel at the end of the day that I'm as Singaporean as it gets. I've grown up all my life not really feeling as though I am different from Singaporeans. And I think that I've gone through what most Singaporeans in my batch, in my age group, have gone through. Primary school, secondary school, JC, National University of Singapore. And then when I got married to a Singaporean, we bought an HDB flat. So all these are experiences that are extremely Singaporean. And walking the ground as a political party means that a lot of people actually approach you to tell you about their lives and their problems. Again, this is something that helps you to understand the bigger picture of what is going on the ground. So I don't see really, I don't really see a problem in a way, for me to understand what it's like to be Singaporean.
Question for Mr. Soma.
Yes.
Earlier in your introduction, you spoke about how you wanted to represent the interests of people around your age, those who are also nearing retirement age. Can you just perhaps elaborate a little bit more what you think are some of the concerns and what are some of the concerns you want to highlight and how you hope to, help them in this?
I'm talking about PMEDs, professionals, managers.
Executives.
What happens if they lose their job? We have read stories, many stories, numerous stories in the papers. Someone used to earning $5,000-$10,000. He loses his job and then he finds it very hard to get another job. Even though he has many years of managerial experience, a lot of talent, he's willing to work for very low pay, yet he cannot get a job. The government says, go for training, retraining. I think we all know this. There are many cases. Such people have followed the government's advice, gone into training, and yet failed to secure another job. I personally know some people. We need to, I think this is because the easy reliance on foreign talent. Okay? I'm not against foreign talent. We need a lot of them also. But shouldn't we look after ourselves first? Only if we can't find replacements for our unemployed people, then we should go for alternate choices.